All right, so welcome back in today. We're going to dive into our mega pump video to give you guys kind of a rundown of what's happening in Web3, Metaverse, VR, AR, all that good stuff. There's a lineup here too, and I think there is a lot happening in the sense of how the market may mature in 2023. So we'll dive in deep. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to the Tech Path. All right, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is Gala Games. They are one of our channel partners. And if you're getting into Web3, blockchain gaming, Gala has really done some interesting things this year. Obviously, a lot of studio development. You know, if you look at Superior, we showed some stuff there. We've shown Spider Tanks here on the show before. But anyway, the point is, if you get into blockchain gaming, this is your one-stop shop. And all you have to do is go over to games.gala.com. And you can kind of start your exploration of these. The cool thing that they've done is they've acquired a mobile gaming studio. We'll start to see implications of that. We've done some partnerships in film with The Rock, with Mark Wahlberg, and they've worked on their tokenomics, which I think is all of these things are good things moving forward for Gala Games. So check them out, see what you guys think. Let's get into it today, and I want to start with the news right here on Apple. All right, so will the Metaverse token and all of these tokens out there pump following Apple's VR headset reveal? This is a leak coming in. And if you look at this, I mean, this is the thing that we've been talking about, is that at some point, Apple's going to make a move. And this may be the move. So this was just published here, extensive preview of Apple's highly anticipated mixed reality headset. The device is due out later this year. I imagine this will probably be late fall. Right before holiday, and they're going to call it the Reality Pro. It weighs based in at a hefty 3 grand, which I think is a problem because you're already at what I think is a pricey point around just the MetaQuest, and now we're going to see the MetaQuest 3 play into this. So probably around, I'm still thinking 18 to 2K. But interesting, Meta is going head to head with this for sure. A couple of things here on 9 to 5 Mac. I want to go to the headset or the hype here. The Reality Pro, let's go down here to some things we highlighted here that I think are interesting. There's going to be a digital crown, so if you guys have an Apple Watch, you know how you can dial it up and do some changes there. That will most likely be available for switching between AR, VR. That's pretty cool. The content fading to black comes kind of the real user environment, which is kind of that see-through, almost like the headsets. Think about, you know, your AirPods and that transparency mode. That's a big element. I think that one of the things I really like about it. So I think tech-wise, Apple's going to bring in a lot of the traditional, you know, tells of what they have in other technology that's already been out, whether it's on Apple, iPads, phones, headsets, etc. All that playing in. Now, the headset lasts about 2 hours on a battery pack. Right now, they have like a little belt device, which I think all of this is still going to be iterating very quickly. It's very possible we could see a completely different device by the time that it actually hits the market and when they reveal it. This is kind of the thing that they were talking about, is the headset will have a curved screen. It's outwardly showing a wearer's eyes. This is kind of that pass-through. This is Mark Gurman talking about this. Mark Gurman's one of the biggest leakers, but very trusted in the Apple ecosphere. He drops a lot to 9 to 5 and many others in terms of the Apple outlets around the Apple topics. The Verge jumped in here and talked about where and how this could really roll out for Apple. And if you think about, they're going to do like 1 million of these. And let's go here. Gurman reports the headset's battery will be offloaded onto an external pack. That's the point I was talking about earlier, which would be kind of like the magic leap. But they've talked about 1 million of these devices, and if you look at scale and what Apple has been able to do, granted, where they're going to make it, don't know yet, but that will probably play into this. But their ability to scale into the next level is going to be a very interesting thing. And if you just look at the deployment of all the devices that Apple have rolled out here recently, it's probably the Watch, and even to a certain extent, you know, the AirPods. And they've done a really good job. There hasn't been a clunker, so to speak, even though the early watches were a little bit of a clunker. But they really kind of righted the ship around that and put it in place. I'm going to play a clip here and just show you a little bit about what
Mark, very briefly, how much is this moving the needle for Apple valuation perspective, from an analyst perspective? Do people ultimately think this is going to be a game changer for them?
This is Garmin.
So in year one, they want to sell about 1 million units at $3,000. Right, wow. And I believe that's about $3 billion. So in terms of overall revenue for Apple, it's not going to move the needle in the short term. But long term, this could be a multi-$100 billion market. And Apple, given the layoffs at Meta and the hardware changes at Google and Amazon as well, they seem to have a clear runway for not only VR, but other hardware products in the future.
All right, so his point is right, and that is that, and this is the thing I keep talking about, is at some point Apple's going to jump into this. At some point they're going to figure out a strategy around what Metaverse is, and whatever we want to call it, Web3, NFTs, integration on digital collectibles, all those kind of things, including the ability to grab assets, music, video, films, all those kind of things play into this. Gurman is a little bit bullish here, and granted, he's a big Apple bull, so I get that. The question is whether or not Meta and others will outpace Apple based on the development they have done. Now, granted, Meta has laid off people, so has Google, so has Apple to a certain extent, but there's been a lot of layoffs in Silicon Valley. I think that's really just fluff. I don't think it affects the development cycle of a lot of these companies, especially in these areas. So I think they're just honing their skill sets on what they need to focus in on. Google and Microsoft kind of leaning into AI, Meta going into VR, Apple AR/VR. We'll see how this plays out for sure. Here's the memojis on app. I know you guys probably, if you're an iPhone user, you guys get this, you see this stuff. You can have these digitized on your AirPod case. I mean, they're kind of, let's just say it, they're very childish, I think, in terms of what is out there and coming. And I look at just Ready Player Me and I just go, there's no way, unless Apple's doing something like this, there's no way that this is going to jump into anything. Let me kind of show you. I mean, you can kind of see, this is Ready Player Me integrated into TikTok right here. Let me kill that music, but you can kind of see they're right there. This is an app. Now I will say this about this app, okay, because this is an avatar cam app that uses integration into TikTok. I've tried it, and when I tried it a few weeks ago, it was a little bit clunky. With my Ready Player Me account, you can load up dApps in there. If you guys have not tried Ready Player Me, go in and build your avatar, start loading up dApps. There's a lot of solutions out there, and there's going to be more, so more integrations. But I think they're way ahead of it, and the likelihood of this coming into, and we already know, coming into Meta is real. So you've also got some big moves right here with Meta going after what I think are sports and entertainments, and this is the whole point. Basketball Diaries now, their partnership is now extended with the NBA. And if you kind of scan down here, they're going to show some this Coliseum-like approach. But the point is, you're going to be able to see the NBA games within Meta and integrated into your VR. This, to me, is a new experiential component that could get really interesting around sports, among other things that could really play into this in the future. This is the first look on the Quest 3, which is very interesting. This is kind of a leak, so to speak. But again, the problem here, and I won't get into design, but there are some issues there. I want to kind of highlight this up. I'll bring it up a little bit. You can guys see it doesn't have necessarily that weighted section. I'm kind of waiting for this one versus what we have now with MetaQuest. But the point being is that this is all advancing at a very fast pace. Remember, we just got a new one of these last October, so brand new. I want to show a clip from our CryptoPit team, and they pulled this right out of Meta with their MetaQuest device. And let me play this for you because this kind of shows you where they are right now. Let's go to that clip. And this is now your own little apartment, home, however you want to call it. This is all available right now within the MetaQuest. So again, you're most likely going to start to see NFTs integrated. They are getting so close to where NFTs could start dropping. And here in a second, he's going to scan around to, like right there, displays for potential NFTs. You know, all of this. He goes upstairs. He's got a kind of a gaming studio there. Again, right there, opportunity for starting to integrate collectibles, which I think are going to be interesting. This is the thing that really starts to leverage into what VR and just this whole digital space will be like. Can you imagine what advertising is going to be like, the use case of this? Because this right now, guys, is still elementary in terms of the development and what we've done. Meta is really on the right track. Now, can Apple catch them? Or can Apple be in a position, maybe they roll out something even sexier? We don't know. But what I do know is that we are about to see a run on a lot of these kinds of innovative stocks. If you watch and follow Cathie Wood, What did she do back on the last run for tech? Now, granted, she maybe didn't exit out at the right time, but we are talking about an unbelievable cycle of what this could look like. Just to give you an example, this is top metaverse coins by market cap. Let me zoom in on that right there. That's the current market capitalization. People are thinking this could be in the multi-trillions, and this is right now an 8 billion. I want you to think about that for a second. Billion and trillion. Look at the differences of that, what it takes to go from a billionaire to a trillionaire. We're talking magnitudes of unbelievable proportion. And the potential here of really seeing what the next level is for not only Metaverse, but a lot of these projects that are going to circle around it. And I'm going to get into a few of those. Let me jump into a couple. Here's Star Atlas. You know, we've kind of talked about Star Atlas. I was a little bit worried about this project. I'm going to bank this one out and just show you some of the things they've done here with... I'll mute it, but I'll just kind of show you. This is all within the game right now. So again, moving into potential VR, lots happening here. Again, integration in. Do you see how much more advanced this is? And this to me is where we're going to see the future of AR, VR, gaming. All of this is flowing in here very quickly. The companies that understand this too, I think, are going to be absolutely huge. Let me mute this one. This is, again, just their second anniversary. This is anticipation of the new gameplay engineer that doing some testing out of their VR model. Let me show you this one. Let me highlight that out. So again, this is now in the VR model. And again, more advancements into this tool. I'm just amazed at how quickly this has come about and what this means for the potential down the road, because collectibles will play into this, along with all of these projects that are basically trading as tokens. You guys have probably seen we had Ceek VR in our last Metaverse run-up. I had them in my portfolio quite a while ago, and this was actually a high performer for me, but they've started to really ink in some stars. Lady Gaga, you've got Demi Lovato, Ringo Starr, etc. Lots happening around what Ceek is doing. Again, here's quite a bit happening within their own Metaverse component. And I'll kind of... You've done this, you're on Nyla Blackman. Hey, what's up, baby? Pause that one. But you can kind of just see they're also moving into Metaverse components. And Ceek has a hardware device as well. So this one is another one that I'm watching in a big way as we continue to see more and more integrations into the music scene. Could get very interesting in a very short period of time. And this is the thing that I think is everybody kind of has to be aware of is what is the runtime for all of this kind of this pump coming and what does it look like? Here is Wilder World, a project that I kind of thought might actually be on its deathbed. And you can see a little bit here. Let me kill that one out. But again, all of this happening right now. So everybody's been building a little bit here. You can kind of see some of just the integrations here with VR. Pretty amazing stuff. And I think we're going to see. Now, can Apple just leap forward here and absolutely surprise the entire market? It is very possible we could see a next level leap coming at us. But it would be good. It would be good, obviously, for Apple, but it would also be good for the competition, because I think the competition would immediately respond and be able to kind of level up. Question will be, here's Somnium Space. What I will say about this one is, from their headset, I'm just going to say this is probably not the route I would be seeing the technology going. Heavier, more lethargic in terms. I think the key here is going to be slimmer, lighter, more balanced, all those kind of things, eventually getting into maybe an eyewear or something very close to an eyewear level stuff. So very cool stuff. Here's Vulcan Forge. This is very cool. I want to play this clip right here. Let me expand it out and then I'll pop it open for you guys.
And it is so exciting when you explore it. Also, it is VR compatible, so you can fully immerse.
So what they're talking about is going into VR compatible Metaverse components here within Vulcan Forge. Again, these are other ones I know. Johnny, who comes on our show quite a bit, Hustle, he loves Vulcan Forge, and we've had them in the CPI in the index at once, and we just weren't grabbing enough data. We may take a look at bringing that one back as well. Love to get you guys' input on these, so make sure and drop some questions in over on the side, and smash the like button, because it does help people start to understand What we're about to see this year in 2023, I think, is the beginning of the next move of where we're going to see a lot of this technology. Here is Everdome. Again, another project that is a little bit more on the side of from last run. I'm still looking for some of the new projects that are coming into this, but they're getting into it. You can kind of see their MetaQuest integration there. A lot happening here, guys, and that's the thing. Can you catch this stuff early enough in these cycles where it starts to give you a position if you're dollar cost averaging, or if you truly believe what we're talking about here in terms of the evolution of gaming, the evolution of entertainment, film, experiential aspects. All of this is now moving beyond what we know today, which is the 2D ecosystem of what we have. Let's go to this piece right here. This is Sensorium. Reason this is interesting is it kind of looks interesting there. But the point they have and they get into here is these guys have a full-blown AI avatar component, which is a learning ecosystem. It has the integration where it's kind of like 24/7, so you can drop in anytime. There's kind of these integration. These are the kind of things I could see where AI may play a role, especially in the near future. And I think this is a scenario that when we look at what technology can implement and change the destiny of what VR, AR can be, AI is the new buzzword. Now, how can it be implemented into real use case? That's going to be the question mark. And I think we won't probably see that this year to any extent, but I think by 24, 25, we will start to see real integrations into Metaverse, AR, VR, and the potential aspect of how gaming evolution may start to change. Very interesting stuff. Technology is moving at a very, very fast speed. Here's another one right here, which is OVR The Reality. This is over another project that we featured back in the last run. And they're showing something kind of interesting here. And what I'm going to explain here is they're mapping the real world. And then they take these maps and they translate this into, think of Matterport. If you know what a Matterport is, it's like a device that does these 3D imaging around real estate, and it maps in a full scan of your property. This is what's happening with what OVR The Reality is doing. So the app, as they call it, Map to Earn, it's a beta test, almost 100 scans thus far, and this was just one of the personal faves that they put on there. So OVR has been one that we've watched as well. And again, we've featured this one on the show before. In fact, OVR, I was an investor on this token in the last run, did very well for me. I'm not saying this, again, not investment advice, but the point is I'm highlighting what projects, and there's many, many more. This could be done, and this is kind of a scenario that we're doing here on the show. We need to take this into the Metaverse set, but we're going to start bringing you a lot more AR, VR that applies to what crypto is doing and where blockchain will integrate, because Web3 will be a big part of this. So lots of good stuff. Can we leave out VeVeverse? No. Here's VeVeverse's demo. I'm going to play this. Let me make sure I've got music off. And again, this is the demo. It's just a screen of a screen. But the point being is that Vivi is going to move into this as well. Integration in collectibles, digital collectibles, a real opportunity here, I think, for major brands, and also for the potential of a lot of IP starting to converge into the digital space. And I think that's the biggest opportunity, whether you think about Disney, all the Marvels, and the IP of what Hollywood has been done, sports IP. There's just so many opportunities here where this digitization is starting to happen. I look back on this and I think, when's the last time we really saw this kind of leap forward in technology? It really was in really the late 1990s when the World Wide Web was first envisioned and what Tim Berners-Lee was trying to do with creating the graphical interface. That is where we are right now with AR, VR, and blockchain, and what we'll see with Web3. That's the exact curve on that bell curve adoption that we're in the middle of. Just to give you an example of this, this is the Metaverse Index. If you just want to look at charts and just think, okay, well, right here's where we were back in April of 22. And then you go back here in, you see Sunday, this is February 22nd. I want to show you the max and show you the high right there. This is back in November. Remember the Metaverse, that Metaverse fall that we had? That was the run up right here when Meta announced that they were a Meta. And look at the movement here in terms of overall price volume and then where we are now. So the cool thing is, if we go back to our 1 year, is you'll start to see something happening right here. You start to see a little bit of an upswing right here. So that in itself, to me, let me zoom in on that for you guys. This right here is that downtrend. Are we in the bottom recovery right now? Has there been enough movement in the space? Because I do think that we will have Meta in general, when I think Metaverse, what we'll see in Web3, what we'll see in AR, VR, all of those kinds of related projects, I think will separate from traditional investment projects out there, Bitcoin, Ethereum, most of the alts. This is where it gets interesting because technology will start to integrate and interface to all of these, and there will be all these projects that are going to be jumping in on this. Gaming will be a big part of that for sure. Now, don't forget, we are going to have HTC on our show, I think this week. We're going to try to get Pearly Chin on, and they're going to talk about the VeVeverse, and this is the new device where we're going to see a Web3 integration of AR, VR, and this, I think, is the opportunity of where all of this is going. Collect and store your NFTs. And if HTC is successful, and let's just assume that HTC lands between Apple and Meta on price, we may end up with a 3-horse show here around who's going to garner the most potential, because you still need mainstream. And that mainstream is eventually going to see an opportunity, as in gaming, of where blockchain is going. Then you're going to need these devices, and I think that's where HTC may play out in here with the Vive wallet and the VeVeverse. So a lot happening right there. Avatar, the marketplace. We'll go into all of this with Pearly because we'll get a chance to really break down into it. I want to get over to some questions for you guys and talk about that, and we'll try to get to some of those as well. Let's go to the poll real quick and take a look at what the audience is chiming in on. All right, will Apple, the Reality Pro headset ecosystem reveal pump the crypto markets? Yes, bigger pump than Meta. Ooh, 44%. Interesting. Huh. Already expected. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I would agree with the poll at this point. I feel like Apple coming to the game is a real big move. Depending on how they come to the game, if they come with collectibles, integrated into entertainment, all those kind of things that could eventually at some point in some way integrate apps and things of that nature. You got a new app ecosystem coming in from Web3. Possibility. Let's jump to some questions. Jen Smith says, come in. Gala not interested in VR. Need them to display their views on integrating AI content. Yeah, we've talked to Jason Brink, their head of blockchain over there, president of blockchain over there, and talked about VR, AR. And Jason's situation, and I agree with Jason for the most part, is the hardware's not there yet. But I also think that it's going to move so fast that if you're not already moving in this direction, that could be a little bit of a problem. Now, granted, speeding up at this stage, being able to do catch up is a little different than it was, even 5 years ago. So it's a little different game. That's a good point. We need a Soul AR headset. I mean, they're building a phone. Why not go to an AR headset or a VR headset? Stock's better for Meta. Metaverse right now. There's a handful. I think, obviously Nvidia, Meta. Apple is, I think, still going to see some trouble, but there's still a lot happening. Apple will make VR cool and do what what Zuck only wished he could do. This is the thing that I always say, is that Apple is yet to fall on their face with any device. And it's mostly because of the app ecosystem that lives out here in the real world. And listen, if you're a green bubble or a blue bubble, it's a real thing. And I think this will be the thing that either separates Apple, depending on what they can do in terms of the sexiness of the device and the experience they can deliver, versus where Meta is going. It's a race now, guys. We actually have a race. Apple's is against crypto. Yeah, I think it is, but I think they are going to warm up to whatever you want to call it. Web3, blockchain, integrated media, the future of what digital collectibles might be. All of it, it's just a matter of time. Okay, thoughts on Red Fox? Not a lot yet. I know they're pitching a lot of stuff. They're doing some stuff with their kind of real estate play on some scenarios. Blocktopia, we haven't been tracking as much here recently. We probably need to cover a little bit more on Blocktopia. Grab some render if you got any. Yes, render is a big hold for ours. Actually, just sold my render bag the other day. I'm looking for another opportunity to jump in on that one. All in on Ceek. I don't know about that, guys. Zilliqa. Yeah, well, you know, we track a lot around what's happening on XCAD, primarily who's building on Zilliqa. But again, you know, Zilliqa is also tracked now in our CPI. We're continuing to see a lot of volatility with that one. Yeah, I think you're right, Road Rage. 3,000 will be a very tight market. But listen, it's all short term. You know, it's short term. It's kind of like the expensive Macs, those kind of things. Eventually they get into, you know, a real, because you need that very limited scope of input. And I think that will come. Veracity coming on the next bull run. I think Veracity could be a sleeper here. They're not really a sleeper. XCAD Veracity, watch to earn. This is going to be a play in the future around creators. What we'll see there, if big if here, YouTube doesn't jump into this. Don't think that Google might not go here with something. Gala pivots quickly. Good point. 6 months ago, they said there were no plans for mobile gaming, and wham, they go out and buy a mobile gaming studio, and whack, they're in the middle of it, and they're going to transition it quickly. That's the one thing they do, is they build fast. I will say that about them. And look at all the partnerships they've done. Kudos to them. Full disclosure, they're a channel partner, but they do a good job. Hassan, packed my Meta Hero bag. Could be timely. Yeah, I think, you know, here's the thing, guys. We love to get your feedback. We know that there's a lot of projects out there that are building right now. It's early. It's January. We have a big runway ahead of us in 2023. The key is, are you in a position where you want to start looking at, I mean, if you looked at some of those charts, maybe you are at the bottom. That's the question. Is dollar cost averaging in NFTs and some of the things? If you believe in this technology, if you are convicted about what this is doing, is this the time? Love to get your comments down below. All right, if you guys are not part of the Diamond Circle, jump in now. It's the place to go. It's also where we drop additional content. We got some really cool stuff happening over there. And all you have to do is click the link below. You're in. We're continuing to drop a lot of new data, new insights into the Diamond Circle. Make sure and check that. And we're going to start doing a few things, and that is dropping a little bit of CPI love in there as well, which is something we have not done in the past very well. We're going to improve on that. If you're not part of the CPI, get in now. You can just visit paulbaronnetwork.com, get in on the CPI. That's all of our, which we do a lot of Metaverse tokens, all that kind of stuff, tracking them ongoing. We're going to grow our Metaverse tokens, our Web3 tokens this year, and probably start looking at some projects to track, not from a sentiment standpoint, because I don't like the sentiment around stocks, but at least the ones that we're looking at that could bolster some of these other tokens in the market space. All right, if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure and do that. It's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechBath.